Power, wealth, betrayal. In Renaissance Italy, these weren't just part of politics, they were the rules of survival. Behind the grand cathedrals and masterpieces of art was a darker story, one filled with secret plots, family rivalries, and silent poisonings that could bring down kings, popes, and entire dynasties. Today, we will talk about the plots and poisonings of Renaissance Italy. So before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, also subscribe to my channel. 10. The Age of Intrigue begins. In the 15th and 16th centuries, what we now call Italy didn't exist as one united nation. Instead, it was a divided land made up of rival city-states, Florence, Venice, Milan, Naples, and the Papal States in Rome, each acting like its own small kingdom. Power was everything. These city-states weren't run by elected governments. They were controlled by a handful of rich and powerful families, like the Medici, the Sforzas, and the Borgia, who were locked in constant battles for dominance. There were no real laws protecting fairness or justice. If you wanted to stay on top, you needed alliances, manipulation, and sometimes cold-blooded murder. Politics wasn't just about speeches or policies. It was a dangerous game of chess where every move could lead to betrayal, exile, or death. 9. The Medici's silent power. The Medici family didn't rise through war. They rose through wealth, patience, and precise political timing. Based in Florence, they controlled one of the most powerful banks in all of Europe. Their money flowed through kingdoms, the Vatican, and the trade routes of the known world. But wealth alone wasn't what made them dangerous. It was how they used it. The Medici were masters of long-term strategy. They placed loyal allies in key roles, bishops, cardinals, city leaders, and made sure favors were always owed to them. They financed the Catholic Church, helped elect multiple popes, and married into Europe's royal houses. They didn't need thrones or titles. They built power from behind the curtain, quietly but completely. Their influence stretched far beyond Florence, yet they kept their grip on the city firm and invisible. Opponents who spoke too loudly or stood in the way often faced ruin. Some were silenced, others vanished, and a few died in sudden, unexplained ways. But behind the polished image of patronage in politics was a darker side. Enemies of the Medici had a habit of disappearing. Some were exiled. Some were arrested without warning. Others died suddenly, victims of illness or accidents that raised more questions than answers. 8. Poison, the weapon of choice. In Renaissance Italy, poison wasn't just a tool, it was an art form. When power changed hands in shadows instead of on battlefields, poison became the weapon of choice for nobles who wanted to eliminate enemies quietly and cleanly. It was the perfect method. Silent, invisible, and almost impossible to trace. A few drops in wine, a tainted piece of fruit, or even a perfume dabbed on the skin. Death came slowly, often mistaken for natural illness or fatigue. The victim would suffer quietly. The killer, unseen, unsuspected, and untouched. Poison gave powerful families the ability to kill without lifting a blade. It was especially useful when the goal wasn't to make a statement, but to remove a threat discreetly. No scandal, no war, no uprising. 7. The Borgia family's deadly legacy. When it comes to power, scandal, and fear, no name in Renaissance Italy casts a darker shadow than the Borgias. At the center was Rodrigo Borgia, a Spanish-born cardinal who rose to the highest seat in the Catholic Church, becoming Pope Alexander VI. But his rise wasn't holy. It was built on bribery, corruption, and manipulation. He turned the Vatican into a base of operations for his family's power, treating the papacy like a throne passed through bloodlines. His son, Cesare Borgia, was the muscle behind the dynasty, a ruthless military leader. He ruled through fear, violence, and cold calculation. Caesar was said to have inspired Machiavelli's The Prince, a guide to power where mercy is weakness and betrayal is strategy. He didn't hesitate to eliminate allies who outlived their usefulness. Even family wasn't safe. And then there was Lucrezia Borgia, their daughter. Beautiful, intelligent, and endlessly controversial. Some say she was a pawn used in arranged marriages to gain influence. Others claim she was a deadly player in her own right, accused of slipping poison into wine during dinner parties, removing rivals without ever raising suspicion. To this day, historians debate her true role. Was she a victim of the family's ambition or an active conspirator? 6. Assassinations in public. Not every killing in Renaissance Italy happened in secret. Some were bold, bloody, and staged for maximum impact. One of the most shocking examples was the Pazzi conspiracy in Florence, a plot so daring it unfolded during Easter Mass, right inside the city's grand cathedral. The target? Lorenzo de' Medici, known as Lorenzo the Magnificent, and his younger brother Giuliano. The attackers were members of the powerful Pazzi family, backed by political rivals and even some within the church. They believed that removing the Medici brothers would destroy their grip on Florence once and for all. 5. The poison schools. Poison in Renaissance Italy wasn't only a weapon, it was a craft. And for some, even a profession. Rumors swirled across Italy about secret poison schools, underground circles where the wealthy and powerful were taught how to kill without leaving a trace. These weren't back-alley operations. They were allegedly connected to high society, attended by noblewomen, servants, and those close to royal courts. According to some accounts, these women were trained to hide lethal doses in ordinary items. Powders, wines, gifts, even rosaries, objects no one would suspect. A drop here, a sprinkle there, and the victim would grow ill gradually, the cause never confirmed. 4. Papal politics turned deadly. In Renaissance Italy, even the holiest office wasn't beyond corruption or murder. The papacy, the highest seat in the Catholic Church, held enormous power. A pope didn't just lead spiritually. He controlled wealth, armies, land, and influence that stretched across Europe. And that made the position not just sacred, but dangerous. Behind the grandeur of the Vatican, deadly games were being played. There were whispers of popes poisoned in the night, their sudden illnesses raising quiet suspicions. Some never made it past the early days of their rule. Others were replaced just as mysteriously as they had arrived. 3. The art of the cover-up. Poisoners didn't just kill, they covered their tracks. They used servants as scapegoats, silenced witnesses, and paid off doctors to call deaths natural. In a time before forensics, money and fear could erase any evidence. 2. Fear was everywhere. By the late 1500s, fear ruled the courts of Italy. Even meals became dangerous. Nobles hired food tasters, used silver to test for poison, and avoided sharing meals with anyone they didn't trust. In some cities, poisoning became so common, it had its own legal penalties. 1. A legacy written in blood. The Renaissance gave us art, science, and culture, but it also left behind a legacy of fear, betrayal, and ambition. The Medici, Borgia, Sforza, all are remembered not just for what they built, but for how many they destroyed along the way. In the end, the true story of Renaissance Italy wasn't just painted on ceilings. It was written in blood, in whispers, and in the quiet clink of a poisoned goblet. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.